Greetings, I'm Mike. This is another chapter in transition. This is a new ecology. This is an initial description, while ultimately the purpose of this project is to describe a new niche and a new ecology that humans can survive in long term. This is a foundational piece. The foundation of the ecology of any species is the energetics and reproduction. This is to put that foundation down. There's a lot more to it, and actually some of this has been moved out to other sections, morality, because it's gotten more complicated, and I've added a couple little pieces, but this is the foundation. This leads to aspirations. In any case, when you look at energetics, for most species, it's a matter of food and shelter. Humans have gotten a lot more complicated. I mean, we've been using fire for a long time. We use wind to move our ships. We use water. We've used water to grind our grain for a long time. We've used other animals to plow our fields and transport us. And then about 300 years ago, we started using a lot of mechanical power, the steam revolution. Since then, our energy appetite for our machines, basically, mostly, has exploded. And it's part of the problem because our present energy sources tend to be rather polluting and are quite limited. The fossil fuels and petroleum are quite limited. We're using hydroelectric and some wind, which is a lot less limited and not polluting, and we even use some nuclear power, but that has its own problems. But it looks like we're going to be able to get fission online, and there's lots of hydrogen around, and that doesn't pollute. We're using some solar cells, but they're pretty expensive, whereas the material scientists say that we'll be able to create solar cells out of ceramics or plastics that would be much cheaper, maybe less efficient, but much cheaper. You might end up with your roofs covered with solar cells. That would be pretty dandy and pretty clean, a pretty clean solution. Biofuels are showing incredible potential. Both producing ethanol from non-digestible cellulose, that shouldn't be that difficult to ramp up. It's going to take some work and technology, but we should be able to do that. And there's lots of cellulose around. It seems like algae biofuels, biodiesel, is looking very practical. Hopefully, it can be done with salt water because we've got lots of that. But it looks like that can be scaled up. That's already being done, and it's just going to improve over time. Now, the point of this is not to say these are the solutions to our energy requirements. It's to say that this isn't where our biggest problems are going to lie. We can probably solve these. There's other technologies people have talked about. Maybe we can get energy right out of the solar wind. There's also the possibility to tap the Earth's core, geothermal power. But the point is, it's not the problem. But it has to be reviewed because this is the foundation. Now, of course, in all cases, when you're talking resources, you're talking resources for a population. Well, the population problem, I think, can be solved, but that's discussed elsewhere. Now, as far as food, we get most of our food from farming, agriculture, and herding animals. The herding animals seems to be rather polluting, and there's ethical questions, and it's not that efficient. It seems very likely that we'll be able to replace it with tissue culture, which would be much more efficient, and it'll only be accepted if it's tasty too, which I don't think will be the problem. Now, we might be looking at cattle and goats and sheep and poultry like we have traditionally, but you really don't know what's easy to tissue culture and what people like. ancient Persian kings supposedly gave giant parties that had 1,000 peacock tongues on the menu, which sounds a little weird, but if people like peacock tongues and we can tissue culture them, maybe that's what we'll do. Could be aardvark heart cells that tissue culture. But I think we're more likely to go to that than stick with herding animals, because it is inefficient. Now, as far as grains and vegetables, what's more efficient than direct conversion of sunlight to food? But who knows? Maybe somebody will come up with something synthetic that people like and that's good for you. At the same time, it's interesting that the synthetic fuel people, the biofuel people that are working with algae, they're producing oils that are similar to olive oil. And so they actually make very good tasting foods that are good for you. Maybe we'll choose to go that route. But as I say, that is not where our biggest problems lie. Okay, the next topic is reproduction. And the truth is, it's pretty easy to make children. Raising them is the hard part. And so this is going to be considered mostly under the morality section and the genetics section that's already covered. That's the biggest change in reproduction is what's already covered under the genetics section. So I'm going to not cover that here, but reproduction isn't the biggest problem. Okay, then, though motivation might be. Now, there's a couple other topics that are related, but I'll start with disease, because disease has been a huge selective effect on humans always, and it's likely to be. We might beat it, we might not, because we've beaten it to some degree with vaccinations and antibiotics, but shortly after antibiotics were invented, we saw antibiotic resistance, and we're really seeing it now. And some diseases we're going to beat. Again, I'm not so sure about some. And it seems like it's coming as a surprise to us. SARS and the swine flu were real surprises. People were looking at avian flu, the bird flu that people are very concerned about now. They didn't expect SARS and the swine flu. Now, as for beating it, they're talking about a universal flu vaccine. It was found that even washing hands helped significantly with the recent swine flu, slowed it down some. Maybe we will invent nanite antibodies that can eat any disease. Maybe. And I liked what I heard was these genetically engineered plague dogs who would wander around in society, and if they smell the disease, they respond to it, give an early warning. So maybe we'll beat disease, maybe we won't. But diseases have been fighting back for a long time, and they're good. I wrote this because I thought disease was going to be this huge problem, and maybe we'll solve it, but it might be in a couple thousand years. And we've got to be ready for disasters of huge proportions. They're talking with this avian flu of a mortality rate around 50%. And the lesson of this is that we need a moral system, a social system that's resilient, that can handle something like this and recover. This could apply to volcanoes, asteroids, any event that causes widespread disasters. You better be able to not just survive it, but to rebuild and respond. You need resilience. Associated with this is the global climate change. Warming is going to be bad enough, and if we acidify the oceans, we're really in trouble. It's going to be hard to deal with that. And I've been hearing some reasonable arguments for a coming ice age, which I hear would be even tougher. It's real appealing to be able to have space capability to control our weather, because in the past 10,000 years or so, it's been pretty mild. It's not usually that mild, and human activity looks like it's making it a little rougher. Okay, the point of all this is this is the foundation. This gets covered more extensively later on, but this had to be a foundation, because what this is leading to is where can humans go, and that's the aspirations that'll be considered later on, but you need a foundation to build those aspirations on. Another reason why this discussion is limited is there's a couple things I've intentionally left out, particularly that we will extend our ecology into virtual reality. And that's going to change a lot of things. But as I say, I needed this foundation laid out. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you see more of these videos of transition that try to describe how humans can survive into the future and find a new niche that we can live in for a long time. It looks like the future is very bright. Thank you very much.